Hi, Dr. Yerby here, coming to you from our Cyber Forensics Labs. This learning module is going to be about hardware and how to handle the hardware. So let's get started. Behind me, you see I have a cabinet full of all sorts of different hardware. So I want to talk to you about some of the difference of the hardware and ways to handle the hardware. So let's go ahead and jump right in here. So you'll see that there's several different types of hard drives. So this one, I can look at the connections and tell it's a SATA drive. When you're acquiring evidence, you'll want to note all the different characteristics of the drive or of the device that you're going to be acquiring. So I would want to note the manufacturer, the serial number, the size of the drive. So I can see this is a 80 gig Western digital drive that uses SATA connection, right? And there's much more than just hard drives for evidence. Things that you're not going to be taking out of a computer, if you're going to be seizing RAM, if you're going to be doing a live acquisition, some sort of triage, RAM is very important, but you wouldn't pull the RAM out. Once you pull the RAM out, there's pretty much nothing left on it. Remember, this is one of our very volatile pieces of data, but it's still important to know what RAM looks like. Now, you may end up seizing the entire computer, in which the RAM would come with you, but there's really no reason that you would be taking this out. USB devices. So the big thing to keep in mind with USB devices is, again, you'll still do all those same things. You may not be able to see the serial number printed on the outside of the device, but when you start acquiring the device, you will be able to see that each unique device has a serial number. So I may have, two of these blue USB drives that look very similar, but they're actually different devices, and the computer keeps a entry in the Windows registry where the different devices have been connected. You have other things that could be useful. This is a USB disk drive, so this might be useful if you need to investigate a case that uses an older floppy disk. Right, so we have these little floppy disks, and remember, these use the file allocation table one. This is how our BTK killer was located, right, with some metadata off of a disk. You may find some old data, some old media, such as a magnetic tape drive, and so you would need the right type of hardware to be able to investigate this. If you think that this tape drive has information on it that would be useful in your investigation, you'll need to find a way to be able to investigate this, right? That's some old zip disk. So some of this stuff is from my personal collection. So if we look on this old zip disk, we can see that this was disk 1 of 2 for Microsoft Office, probably version 97 or something like that. So really cutting edge stuff. So that's a lot of the hardware. You'll also see memory cards. So you might see different, so this is like an adapter, and this memory card is actually what I'm using to record this video. All right. Other things with hardware that I wanted to go over are write blockers. So when you connect a computer or a drive to a machine, so here I have a forensics machine, and you'll notice I have this piece of hardware in here called Tableau. Tableau is just one of a couple manufacturers that make write blockers. So this computer actually has a built-in write blocker. So you see this is our forensic bridge. So when I connect things to this device, what I'm doing is I'm ensuring that there's nothing that's going to be written to my evidence that's going to compromise the integrity of my evidence when I connect it to that forensic machine. And then here's an example of a different one from a different company. So, well, this is still Tableau. The machine's actually powered off right now. Up here I'll have a screen that'll tell me is write block on or not. And so I can see, looking at the different lights that would be on, is this write blocked or not. And you can see I can plug in several different types of input. So I can use an older IDE drive, SATA drive, FireWire, USB 3.0, and then this little port here is how I can get power to my drive. So there's several different ways to acquire information. Another thing that we have in our digital forensics lab is a way to image drives. So again, you may have something where you have your suspect drive here, and you need to make a copy here, either bit by bit, or to take this device and make an image of it into a .eo1 or .dd or some other one of the other acceptable formats. So this is a device called the Forensic Falcon, and so this does just that. It does imaging, hashing. I can securely wipe this drive to make sure that this drive is not contaminated. I can hash this drive and then hash the image that I put on this drive. Once I have an image on this drive, then I can take that image and I can bring it back over to any machine that doesn't have to have a write blocker built in. And if I have something like this disk drive bay, I'm able to pop this in here. This one's actually on right now, and connect it through just USB that does not have to be write blocked, and then I can take that image, that .eo1 or .dd file. And then I think the last things to mention are chain of custody and the different types of connectors. So again, chain of custody, you want to always keep track of where the device is. So you'll see in this evidence bag, this is just one example of evidence bag. It's been filled out, right? And so the suspect's name is Jonathan Yerby. That's not good for me, right? You can see the bag is sealed. The only way to get into the bag is to break the, just like when you drink, you got to break the seal, right? So you cut along here, and then you need to document what happened, who took it out, why they took it out, and then you can fill out the chain of custody on the front of the bag and put it on the new one. Or some investigators like to take the previous bag that it was in, fold it up, and put it in a new evidence bag, and that kind of really documents the whole chain of custody that, hey, this was the first bag, this was the second one, and now it's in the third one. Okay, and the last thing to think about here is that when we're dealing with so many different types of hardware, we're usually dealing with different types of connectors as well. So part of a forensic kit will include tons of different cables, power supplies, to deal with all the different types of drives that you may encounter. So again, you'll see there's a ton of different adapters in here, and so you'll see just different size drives, different connectors, and it'll just be a way for you to get everything connected so that you can acquire it. Okay, I think that is enough for now about hardware, and this has been Learning Module 3. Thanks, Dr. Yerby here.